Hey, call the October 19th, 2021 meeting of the Oshkosh Plan Commission to order, and call the roll.
Mr. Mitchell?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Present.
Ms. Shearman?
Present.
Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Mr. Coulibaly?
Here.
Ms. Davy?
Present.
Councilmember Ford? Mr. Grove? Mr. Kiefer?
Here.
Ms. Prop?
Here.
Chairperson Hens?
And then if I could, Mr. Hentz, maybe recommend we take items 1 and 4 first, as both have been requested to be withdrawn by the petitioners, get them out of the way, and then continue on with the rest of the meeting.
Somewhere, do you want to move number up to the second item then?
Correct. We'll do number 1, number 4, just to get them out of the way, and then go back to number 2.
Okay, and with that, I will look for a second to approve it last meeting.
You cut out a little there about motion on the minutes.
I move to approve the minute.
And I'll second. Prop.
Roland.
Mr. Mitchell?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Ms. Shearman?
Aye.
Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Mr. Coulibaly?
Aye.
Ms. Davy?
Aye.
Mr. Kiefer?
Aye.
Ms. Prop?
Aye.
Chairperson Hens?
Aye. And I got a little bit of housekeeping notes in case there's anybody that hasn't attended one of these meetings before. There's a raise hand option if you go on your name in the name list, and for the public comment, that'll be the time for you, because what we do is we start out and introduce item, and the city staff will report, give us the report, then it comes back to the Plan Commission for technical questions, and we'll to look for comment, comes back to the commission for discussion and a vote. So I just wanted to get that out of the way before we got going. And a few people. With that said, go to 1, conditional use permit request for an adaptive reuse at 1701 Oregon Street. Were there any site inspections? If you agree, please.
May I just add in? I can't hear 50% of what John's saying. I don't want him to continue on if he is hoping to be heard and no one can understand what he's saying. Is it possible to have Kathy run the meeting?
I was going to ask the same thing, John. Unfortunately, you're cutting out really bad where it's difficult to hear anything. Would you be all right with Kathy kind of running it so we can hear, and we'll still make sure to try to get your comments and your votes, but unfortunately it's cutting out pretty significantly.
Yeah.
All right, Kathy, are you okay with that?
Yes, I'm fine. But I have a point of order. Should we, instead of site inspection, should we just be moving to withdraw right away?
Yeah, I think we can go straight to motion to withdraw. I'm going to make you co-host as well, Kathy, so you can see hands being raised.
Okay. Then I will entertain a motion to withdraw item 1.
Make a motion to withdraw item 1. Justin?
Second. Shireman.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Mitchell?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Ms. Shireman?
Aye.
Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Kulabali,
Aye.
Miss Davy, Mr. Kiefer,
Aye.
Miss Prop,
Aye.
Chairperson Hens.
Aye.
Okay, the next item has been moved up from 4 to 2, the general development plan and specific implementation plan for a parking lot addition at 1825 West Point Drive. I will entertain a motion to withdraw.
Make a motion to withdraw, Dustin.
Second, Shireman.
Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Mitchell,
Aye.
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
Miss Shireman,
Aye.
Mr. Marshall,
Aye.
Mr. Kulabali,
Aye.
Miss Davy,
Aye.
Mr. Kiefer,
Aye.
Miss Prop,
Aye.
Chairperson Hens.
Chairperson Hens, we didn't hear your vote there.
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
Motion carried 9-0.
Okay, well, we'll go back to item 2. Public hearing on a conditional use permit request for a vehicle service and repair use at 1465 South Washburn Street. Were there any site inspections? I was one. The chair will accept the staff report as part of the record. Staff, go ahead.
Thank you. So the subject site is located on the west side of South Washburn Street. It currently has an existing light manufacturing building, which is previously Steinert Printing. The site is zoned suburban mixed use district. So the applicant is proposing to utilize the existing building for a vehicle service and repair use, which will be Caliber Collision Auto Body Paint and Repair Shop. The auto repair activities will be conducted totally within the facility with the overhead door closed, and the vehicle service and repair use requires a conditional use permit in the SMU district. So here's the site plan. The plans include the existing building and parking lot along with additional pavement for vehicle storage, as well as a dumpster enclosure on the west end of the parking lot. There will be no changes to the building. The only changes will be interior. The vehicle storage area will be fully enclosed with 8-foot tall chain link fencing with privacy slats, including a sliding gate for access. And the fence slats will need to be pre-woven or interwoven. Next slide, I believe, shows fence specs, which appear to meet that fencing opacity requirement, and that will be verified during the site plan review process. Next slide, please. So here is the landscaping plan. There is a buffer yard requirement as it's abutting a multifamily residential district to the west. The applicant is meeting that buffer yard requirement by providing sufficient evergreen tree landscaping along with 8-foot tall solid fencing and a 45 to 50 foot setback to meet that buffer yard. They are also required additional paved area landscaping for the new pavement. They're slightly short of that. That requires 50 points, and they're showing 36. So that's just one change you'll need to make during the site plan review process. So with that, staff recommends approval of the conditional use permits as proposed with the findings and conditions in your staff report.
Are there technical questions? Anybody with a technical question? I don't see any.
I do not either.
Okay, then I'll open the public hearing and ask for a statement from the applicant first, if the applicant is available.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. My name is Brett Flory. I'm with Cross Architects. I'm the architect on this project, and I've done most of Caliber's work across the country over the last 8 years. They have close to 1,300 locations nationwide. They're the world's largest collision repair facility. and close to 20,000 employees. So this is one location that they're looking forward to moving into in Oshkosh. We've done a few others in Wisconsin. We just finished one up in Oshwabanon. We've done one in Fond du Lac, Grafton, Janesville. A couple more, I think. But anyway, all the work will be done inside the building, as mentioned before. They use all their equipment's top of the line. They have a company that helps them stay compliant with all the EPA and federal, state regulations for spray booths. And the spray booths will have, 3-stage filtration system. All the work's done inside, so there's not really a noise issue. They don't take in totaled cars, so you won't be seeing any like total cars. It won't look like a salvage yard. It'll actually it'll look like it's your typical kind of an office building or business that you would normally see. But anyway, I'm happy to answer any questions. I could keep going, but happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions, Plan Commission? I don't see any. Do you, Mark?
Miss Davy.
Miss Davy? Go ahead, Margie.
No, I was looking for my unmute. I couldn't find it.
Okay.
I have both a bit of a question and a comment. I believe I read that the mitigation for liquids and for biohazards, basically, that you would be using what was existing and adding on to that. Did I read that correctly? I was just surprised there was anything existing. You don't know what I'm talking about, huh? Let me see if I can find it in here and get it right. It was the part about where it runs into the storm sewers.
Okay. There are some existing bioswales on each side of the building that I believe most of the drainage from this side goes into. Some of them may go onto the access road, but not much. We are planning on not increasing the flow into that or changing the flow any more than it is right now, really. We are planning to add a little bit of pavement, but it falls below the threshold of having to have a full-blown drainage study. But the city did ask for some grading plan and a site plan kind of showing which way the drainage flows, and that's something we'll be happy to provide with our site plan submittal. But
Okay,
we're
so
happy
there
to
was
address
something.
any kind of if they have comments and need us to update anything or add something, then we'll be happy to do that.
Yeah, and I can kind of touch base. I don't. It looks like Mr. Garak has not been able to join us yet today, but based on the disturbance and the pavement added, it is not triggering quality requirements through the stormwater code, but they will have to make sure it's collected and conveyed through appropriate grading into the existing facilities. So that's kind of the documents he's asking for from Public Works, making sure the site is graded to meet our requirements, but they do not need to do full-blown quality control based on the amount of disturbed area.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And then my comment for you, Brad, is that I've only been on the Plan Commission for a couple of years, and I had not seen before when somebody listed their compatibility with the surrounding area and listed places you donate to. I thought that was really cool, and I thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
It might be nice if it was updated a little bit, but it was fantastic.
Yeah, Caliber is a big, like the CEO of Caliber is, I think, president or vice president. He's on the board of the American Heart Association. And so they just had their big golf tournament yesterday that here we're down in the Dallas, Texas area. But anyway, they're real big with the American Heart Association. They have a whole program for helping veterans kind of get trained and get back into the workplace. So there's a lot of people they work with. And, they're a really good company to work with. They actually have the highest customer service ratings index of any corporation in America, and they take pride in all of that. They have worked with all the major insurance companies, so they have to kind of stay on their game to make all those guys happy, and they do a pretty good job of that.
Excellent. I hope there may also be some eyes to helping with food locally or something too as part of your program.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can try to help facilitate that and help them.
None of which has anything to do with the Plan Commission. I just had to say that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, that I'm sure they will, and I'll even put a word in for it.
thanks.
Any other questions, Plan Commissioners, of the applicant?
I've got a question, Kathy, if I can
Go
go.
ahead.
Thank you. So you're gonna, if I understand this right, the fenced-in area is where you may be storing temporary vehicles that may have been involved in, say, accidents or other types of collisions. What's the likelihood or propensity for there to be any sort of I don't know, gasoline or oil runoff that might flow into one of the bioswales? And then what's the monitoring mechanism to I guess identify when that type of pollution happens?
Well, they have they have OSHA approved spill containment kits that typically what happens is if the vehicle is involved in a fairly significant accident, then most of the fluids were spent at the crash site, and then they clean it up there. And then by the time the vehicle gets to Caliber, there's not really anything left. But they do have spill containment kits there. They also have 55-gallon drums for like motor oil, antifreeze, all the kind of typical fluids you have in a car that all that has to be disposed of properly and hauled off by a licensed waste hauler who does that kind of stuff. One of the requirements for adding the additional paving in the parking lot is to add a curbs. And so if there is if something does come in and spill, typically, I've done like close to 300 of these across the country, and there's not really any more oil, fuel, or anything come out of these cars than there is just people driving their car up and parking the customer or employees. But if there was the addition of these curbs that we're going to have to add, will kind of help it keep from running off anywhere and getting into the soil.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anybody else? I'm not seeing any now. So we'll go to other public comment. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak on this item? Any other public people out there wishing to speak on this item?
I do not see any, Kathy.
Not seeing anybody. Okay, then we'll close the public hearing. And any more applicant statements, or are you okay?
I'm good. We appreciate your time today on this.
Okay, thank you. All right, commission, back to the commission motion, please.
Make a motion to adopt the recommendations and findings as stated in the staff report. This is Justin.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, we'll call the roll.
Mr. Mitchell,
Aye.
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
Ms. Shireman, Mr. Marshall,
Aye.
Mr. Kulabali,
Aye.
Ms. Davy,
Aye.
Mr. Kiefer,
Aye.
Ms. Prop,
Aye.
Chairperson Hens.
Aye.
Motion carried 9-0.
We'll go to item 3, public hearing, conditional use permit request for a temporary use permit extension at 2911 Fond du Lac Road. Were there any site inspections? Looks like one at least. The chair will accept the staff report as part of the record. Staff, go ahead.
Thank you. So the subject site is a 6-acre residential property located on the west side of Fond du Lac Road. In July of 2021, a temporary use permit was issued to allow for storage of construction materials used for street reconstruction on Fond du Lac Road. And that temporary use permit expired on October 4th of this year. The applicant is now requesting additional time for the temporary use permit to be extended through December of this year, so through December 31st, and exceeding 90 days requires a conditional use permit. Here's the site plan. On the northern half of the site, there's a gravel storage area about 320 feet by 120 feet for temporary storage of gravel. And then just to the south of that, there's a 165-foot by 195-foot area for temporary dewatering basin. Again, these temporary storage areas are needed to provide a location for materials until the reconstruction projects are completed. Staff has not been made aware of any concerns since they've been using the site. The area will be required to be returned to green space after the project is complete. And with that, staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit with the condition that the TUP shall expire on December 31st, 2021, and the site shall be fully restored to pre-use conditions, including replacement of any damaged lawn areas after expiration of the temporary use permit.
Any technical questions from the Plan Commission? Meredith?
Thank you. Yeah, 2 questions. One is, if it expired on October 4th, so right now it's, I mean, I don't know, I don't even know what the date is, like 2 weeks later, a week and a half later. So is that custom that we approve something, an extension after the date has went by?
With some of these conditional use permits related to some of these road projects, it has happened in the past where by the time they're aware of that, material shortages or wherever it may be, that by the time they file, because of the filing lag between when they know it's going to take too long and it actually gets to Plan Commission and Council, they can't expire. This isn't the first instance of it. We've been aware of, been working towards it since prior to it expiring. It really comes down to it to being a timing of the legal notices and everything that go into doing a conditional use permit.
Okay. And then my second question is, if part of the condition to extend to December 31st is to get it to, I can't exactly remember what you said back, green space and all that. So it'll be winter. So what do? Just take their word for it and hope that it happens in spring?
We'll follow up in spring
Okay.
and issue citations, violations if it's not restored. Obviously, if they finish mid-December and they can't grade it and seed it, our code has, I think, a May 1st, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, a May 1st start to planting season, where then it'll have to be done.
Excuse me. Okay. Thank you.
Any other technical questions? Not seeing any, I'll open the public hearing. The city is the applicant. I don't know if we need a statement, do we? Anybody here in the audience wishing to speak on this item? Extending the conditional use permit. Anybody wishing to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none. I will close the public hearing, and Commission, we need a motion. How about a motion to adopt the findings and recommendation as stated in the staff report?
So moved. Meredith Shireman.
Okay,
Second, Kiefer.
Second.
thank you. Discussion on the motion. Let's call the roll.
Mr. Mitchell,
Aye.
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
Ms. Shireman,
Aye.
Mr. Marshall,
Aye.
Mr. Kulabali,
Aye.
Ms. Davy, Ms. Davy,
Aye.
Mr. Kiefer,
Aye.
Ms. Prop,
Aye.
Chairperson Hens.
Aye.
Motion carried 9-0.
Item 5, specific implementation plan amendment for the rooftop addition at the southwest corner of Jackson Street and Marion Road, which is Maxon Corners. And were there any site inspections? I guess I had one. The chair will accept the staff report as part of the record. Staff, go ahead.
Thank you. So the subject site is located at the southwest corner of Jackson Street and Marion Road. In July of this year, a general development plan and specific implementation plan were approved for a multifamily development on the site, which is merged site J. And the approved SIP for the site was for a 74-unit apartment building. The applicant is now requesting an amendment to the approved SIP to allow for a rooftop terrace with canopy and stair elevator addition. So here's the lot currently vacant. Here's the approved site plan. So the addition will only be to the rooftop. It will not change the footprint of the building or the parking lot. So here are the elevation renderings. The addition will result in an additional 15 feet of building height. Staff does not see any concerns with that, as it is still well under the maximum airport zoning heights. The roof terrace is intended to provide a space with a view of the river for all the tenants, regardless of the location of their unit within the building. From a building facade standpoint, the stair and elevator will match the exterior materials of the rest of the building, which are Ceraclad and black framed window systems. It'll also have a wood-looking slatted shade pergola. Staff does not have concerns with the rooftop addition, as it will be consistent with the approved design of the building and will not negatively impact the appearance of the facades. So you can see here the elevations on the left and the color images from the riverfront, and I believe that's from Jackson on the right side. So with that, staff recommends approval of the SIP amendment as proposed.
Any technical questions? The Plan Commission. Not seeing a hand. If not, I'll open public comment and ask for a statement from the applicant if they are present.
This
Mark,
is
it-
Steve.
Oh, go ahead.
This is Steve Miller with Slingshot. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I just appreciate you considering this application for the amendment. I think when we were there for the SIP, original SIP submission, we mentioned this as a solution, or one of the reasons that we were not providing balconies on every unit facing the river, and that this rooftop terrace would be for each apartment in the building. But if there are any other questions, I'm happy to take them.
Looks like Meredith.
I was not part of this commission back when it was first approved, so that's what I was curious about. So did you've changed your mind and added it because of feedback, or was it always planned but you couldn't get it in time for the first approval, or what's the backstory, please?
Sure. Yeah, great question. It actually was just a kind of late in the design process request from the client. They saw one somewhere else and really liked it and thought it'd be a great asset on this project, and we agreed. So
Yeah.
it
Okay,
was just
thank
a
you.
late addition.
Sure.
Justin?
Thanks. Happy to see this addition. I think that taking advantage of a higher up view along the waterfront is a considerable positive. The onus doesn't fall completely on this development or on your team, but I just wanted to have the management consider the fact that there's not a whole lot of opportunities for just general residents in the community to access, some sort of high up valuable view of our waterfront. And either the possibility that this is also something that the general public could potentially reserve the space if it's available and not be utilized by tenants on a particular day or evening. And then I guess a question for you is, in the design of it, is it being put together such that at some point in the future, if economic conditions allow, that it could potentially be converted or utilized as a nightlife type area, whether it be a cafe or a bar or whatnot?
Yeah, good question. So I mean, this building is all residential, but the fitness room that's in the glassy area in the foreground of that bottom right image, they have kind of asked us about, could that ever be converted to a commercial use? And I think the answer is yes to that. I don't know the code implications. I'd have to dig into that a little bit more about getting access to the roof and the security issues with the residents. But I think that's probably more likely to happen in the two buildings on you can barely see them in the right side of that image that are proposed as future development along Jackson Street. That will all be commercial on the ground floor. And that's certainly a possibility that we could incorporate some kind of higher up space that's public in those projects. That'd be a lot easier. But I'll definitely pass that on and bring that up to March.
Okay, I have a question. Is the rooftop only open under that canopy area, or is it open further along?
Yeah, it's pretty small. It's only under that canopy area.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have then. Question? Anybody else with a question? Let's see, we've got a statement from the applicant. Is there anybody else wishing to speak on this request?
It looks like Miss Davy has a question.
Oh, go ahead, Margie.
Thank you. That time I had my mute button ready. Kind of following along with Justin's thoughts here, only differently. Is the rooftop going to be rated for enough load bearing that it could ever support a garden for the residents?
There actually is plantings around that kind of surround the entire rooftop terrace. So yeah, structurally it's supporting that, and as part of the proposed addition, it does include like green roof around in the immediate vicinity of the roof terrace.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody from the public wishing to speak?
Looks like Mr. Koulibaly has a question.
Go ahead, Mamadou.
Hi, thank you. Well, it looks like a very convenient way to have a nice scene on the water. But I was just curious about the way it is attached to the building. I was thinking in case of harsh weather, tornado, or strong winds, this cover could fly. That's my impression. So I was wondering how it is attached to the building and how much of a hazard could it be?
Yeah, great question. It's all that whole pergola and the structure that's holding it is a prefabricated aluminum system that's designed and engineered to withstand the same winds as the rest of the building. So I think it will hold up just as well as the rest of the building will in kind of extreme weather. So yeah, it looks like wood, but it's a lightweight aluminum that's all fabricated and securely attached to the building.
Okay, anybody else?
I do not see any.
Okay, then we'll close the public comment period. The applicant, do you have anything else to say?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, then commission, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the findings and recommendation as stated in the staff report.
So moved.
Second, Mitchell.
Discussion? Again, I'm not seeing any, so we'll call the roll.
Mr. Mitchell,
Aye.
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
Ms. Shireman,
Aye.
Mr. Marshall,
Aye.
Mr. Kulabali,
Aye.
Ms. Davy,
Aye.
Mr. Kiefer,
Aye.
Ms. Prop,
Aye.
Chairperson Hins. Motion carried 9-0.
Item 6, specific implementation plan amendment for signage located at 1212 South Main Street. That's the arena. Were there any site inspections? I had one. The chair will accept the staff report as part of the record. Staff, go ahead.
Thank you. So as was mentioned, this is the Oshkosh Arena site. It's located along South Main Street between East South Park Avenue and East 11th Avenue. The arena development was approved back in 2017. At this time, the applicant is requesting an SIP amendment to allow for sign modifications. So they will be removing signage that includes the Menominee Nation Arena signage, which are wall signage and monument signage, as well as the Menominee Casino and Resort and Maple Pub wall signage as well. And then they will be adding new signage, which will include an Oshkosh Arena logo on the west elevation, 2 Dr. Pepper logos on the west elevation, a Dr. Pepper logo on the west elevation outside of that, and then also on the north elevation, the 1212 Sports Bar, Pub and Grill signage as well. So according to the applicant, the existing signage will be removed and the signage displayed will be reflecting the temporary stadium name, which is Oshkosh Arena, until a naming rights sponsor is secured, along with signage for current sponsorships as well. All signage proposed, it will be vinyl-based window graphics, and according to the applicant, that will allow for more flexibility for short-term deals with sponsors. So back in November of 2017, an SIP amendment was approved for signage, and that included a base standard modification to allow 1,580 square feet of sign area on the west facade. That approval included a 102 square foot herd logo that was never installed. So the new signage with the window graphics will result in an overall reduction of about 354 square feet of wall signage versus what was originally approved. Additional signage on the north elevation will result in the wall signage area exceeding the maximum of 1 square foot per linear foot for that facade. So BSM will be needed for that additional signage on the north facade. So as the proposed signage will be covering existing window areas of the building, the approved architectural design of the building will be impacted. So staff sees both pros and cons to the signage proposal. As the applicant had noted, it will allow for increased flexibility when it comes to changing sponsorship signage out. However, it may impact the architectural appearance of the building as it will be covering a window area. So with that, staff is recommending that Plan Commission make the determination on whether or not the proposed signage modifications are appropriate for the site. And if approved, it would require a base standard modification to amend the approved square footage of signage on the west facade and also a BSM to allow additional signage on the north facade.
Okay, technical questions, Plan Commission. Justin.
Thank you. Are we just discussing the sign, or is there also a discussion about the outdoor usage, or is that just something that had already been approved and is not being amended at all
That
today?
request never moved forward. Today we are looking at the request for signage.
Okay. One other question about signage then. I know this is not the specific sign that they're looking for, but quasi-related. The glow sign, the computerized sign that they have, are there any limits or restrictions that we impose on, say, the light level of that coming out at whatever time, very late in the evening or whatnot?
Yeah, we had a large number of restrictions on that when it was placed. Obviously, it was the first video message board of that type in the city. And with the size of it, I know Mr. Field from the Rankin spoke with it about a little more. We've had some back and forth. We had some neighbors in the area that had some concerns over light colored backgrounds and stuff. And although they technically met the code requirements placed on it, it was still having some impacts on the neighborhood. And Mr. Fields and his team have worked with their sign vendor to try to mitigate those, going with darker backgrounds, some of those things. But yeah, we do have a number of length of messages, type of messages, hours of operation, what can be on it. We had a significant number of regulations specifically related to that sign, including illumination levels for both day and nighttime.
Thank you.
Other technical questions? I have one. I'm not looking at the staff report right now. What percentage of, how does this signage affect the desired window coverage on the two facades?
Are you asking in terms of like lighting and ventilation requirements from a building code standpoint,
Well,
or
from
sign code requirements?
Plan Commission requirement for window area.
Yeah, so obviously, as this was a plan development, it had very specific exterior design requirements above and beyond our just normal window percentage we use. This is a primarily brick glass building that had separate design standards that we applied to it and worked through during the plan development. So it wouldn't have that traditional metric we had used. It was viewed as a unique building at the time of construction, and we used some different metrics at that time. I don't know if that answers it for you, Kathy, or not.
I guess so.
Of,
It doesn't make it easy to decide, is this, you're giving the Plan Commission the decision on, is this appropriate signage? And that answer doesn't make it an easy decision.
Looking at the west elevation, without having exact numbers, I would say in the neighborhood of 50% or just under of the glazing on that west elevation looks like it's being covered with the vinyl graphics. The west elevation, I'd have to take a closer look. There's more glazing to the east, farther on that elevation than what is shown in the image we have. There's more glazing off to the side there. So I'm not sure exactly the percentage on that side that's being covered.
Okay, that's all for right now. Any other technical questions? Evidently not.
It looks like Mr. Hintz.
Mr. Hintz, go ahead, John.
I'll ask this really quickly. On the front of the building where that says Menominee Nation Arena, they're taking that down and replace it with just a sign. Is that how I'm understanding this?
I think I can fill in the gaps of what he asked there. Yes, they're proposing on the left side of the image you see here where the Menominee Nation Arena signage is to remove that signage and instead replace it with the vinyl Oshkosh Arena signage.
Thank
you. Margie?
Do we have any idea what kind of time frame this will be covered for? I mean, I know they don't know when they'll get a new sponsor, but are we putting any limits on it? I mean, does this have to be unvinyled in a certain amount of time?
So we can check the applicant in a minute here. My understanding is they want that area to be reserved indefinitely for vinyl graphics, that if they strike a short-term, couple of years, year or two naming rights deal, a new vinyl graphic can be placed there for whatever that naming rights deal could be. And then, when that naming rights deal expired and a new naming rights deal would maybe be agreed to, it could just continue to be replaced. They're asking to basically cover that area indefinitely, but the exact graphic could change. And I'm sure if I quoted that wrong, JD can jump in here when we get to his part.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other technical questions? Any other technical questions?
This is Marshall. I have my hand up. I'm not sure if it shows.
Yeah, and then I don't see it now. So go ahead, Phil.
Oh, sorry. So you might have answered my question if the signage is going to get changed in the event that we get a new sponsor, but I guess I was just curious about the white color. Is that something that is long lasting? Can it handle weathering? Does it get dingy and kind of ugly over a short period of time? I guess I'm just curious about the color choice and how we can keep that, really crisp and inviting to people.
Staff does not have an answer on that for you. These vinyl graphics, we've used them, similar graphics for like downtown. They have the mini murals, which have held up extremely well. I don't know if a sign of this size, I can't speak to the specifics of that material. The sign contractor or maybe the applicant could.
Just a minute, Jason. We're making sure there aren't any other technical questions. I don't see any, so we'll open public comment and go to the applicant. Go ahead, Jason.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jason Fields. I'm the general manager for the now Oshkosh Arena, formerly Menominee Nation Arena. Thank you for taking your time to hear me and to review my application and consideration for modification on signage. Just to touch on a couple questions that I heard previous to my turn in conversation. First, to talk on Philip's question, I believe. Is it Philip? Okay. The graphics that you see on the west elevation, proposed signage mock-up, will be affixed to the interior side of the property. They will not be affixed to the outdoor part of the property. The vinyl that we're putting on there is a 20-year based vinyl, so it can take up to a specific amount of time in order for that to start fading. The reality of it is we will have a new naming rights partner before you start to see any kind of UVA or UVB deterioration of that white affixed color that's on that vinyl. We hope to have a new naming rights partner within the next 12 to 18 months, and I'm answering, I guess, two questions at the same time. But the reality is naming rights can take anywhere from 6 months up to a couple years, depending on the scope of the potential partners that we're speaking to this property. So the vinyl will not show any kind of fading or discoloration within the amount of time that we anticipate that sign being placed. And then I trying to see if there was some other, I'm trying to remember all of the questions. I do apologize. If anybody can repeat them, I would be happy to answer some questions. I believe that's it. I mean, to talk to Mark's point further about the space remaining intact for future sponsors, etc., we have no intention, and I should have been clear about this in my summary. I do apologize. I have no intention of putting additional sponsors in phase one of the west elevated proposed signage. When that Oshkosh Arena sign comes down, we're not putting other sponsors up there. The only other place that we would put sponsors would be on number 2, 3, and 4 on the west elevated space pointing out. Currently, Dr. Pepper is a naming rights sponsor on gate A, which is why their image would be the ones that are in the current amendment. When we do have a new naming rights partner, there will be an entirely different packet and renderings put together based upon their desired want to label the arena and the assets that would be controlled as a new naming rights partner. What we are going to attempt to do is try to have them follow suit with what is existing or previously existing, as I've had previous conversations with Mark about that as well. Sometimes they work well with you, sometimes they want to paint your roof and everything else under the sun, so it's really just hard to tell what that's going to look like until I get further into those conversations. But we do have a lot of say as the owners of the arena as to how we want our space to look and the direction that we want it to move. Challenges we have here with this being such a unique space to Oshkosh and a unique space to the planning committee is a lot of the things that work for other buildings here are really not conducive for us. A case in point here, to remove these graphics that are the letters that you see on the wall, those particular graphics can run in excess of anywhere between 10 to hundreds and thousands of dollars to have those kind of three-dimensional signs made. It didn't make sense for the arena to say, okay, let's go ahead and have other signs made like that to say Oshkosh Arena when we knew that they were for a limited time. It's the same thing with the pub. The pub, it doesn't make sense for us to put up same size that's there when it's not conducive to that kind of space, to the branding and the marketing of that space. So the Oshkosh Arena sign, as you see on the west elevation mock-up, really allowed for us to keep the cost very minimal on a very temporary situation. But if if this was going to be called Oshkosh Arena permanently, we'd obviously be petitioning for something completely. So I just wanted to put that point out there. It's very unique for our kind of space, and our, as Mark mentioned about the short-term, long-term sponsors of it. A lot of the time, our sponsorship deals run for 12 months. And then that sponsor's image, graphic, or brand has to come down off of the property. Internally, it's easy to manage, but when you start affixing graphics to glass or three-dimensional signs to a building, it's really hard to ask a sign partner to pay, $10,000 to $50,000 for a sign they know is going to be up there for about 12 months. So it just requires us to have a little bit more flexibility in what we're able to offer our partners by way of visibility and ROI on their investment with us. It also opens us up to larger partners well outside of the immediate local range and bring in some regional and national partners as well into the Oshkosh community. So, but
Meredith has a question.
please.
I know you answered this. I think this is actually to staff. So they don't have a sponsor for the next 12 to 18 months. Is it customary that we have just a blanket approval out there for however long?
So typically when we deal in signage, we deal in areas.
Okay.
And a sign can be changed out as much as they want within that given area. You think about more, panel signs are more what we deal with typically than these. But an applicant in a business could change that panel as frequently as they wanted. Then they don't need additional approvals as long as they match those same area requirements. And similarly, that's what this proposal from the arena would be, is the flexibility to change those out as long as they stay within the confines of the approved areas. Now, if they wanted to go on a different area of the building or increase size over what was previously approved, they'd have to come back through this process.
So how do we know what are the standards today are going to be the standards in 2 years if they are unsuccessful in getting a, I don't want to ever talk about worst case scenario, but what we think is acceptable and approving today may differ in 2 years.
And that is the difficulty with these is we do have to, take a best guess on what some of this is. Now, staff could, Plan Commission could sunset clause this and say, these areas are approved for signage for X amount of time. And before that would expire, if the arena wanted to continue it, they would have to come back to renew it.
I generally like giving autonomy to businesses to do the sort of what they need to do to attract sponsorship and things like that. I'm just a little uncomfortable only because of inexperience on how long that latitude, like how long do we give them? That's my comment. Thank you.
Margie has a question.
Yes, this goes back to Jason. I just wanted to clarify that I heard correctly. Did I understand you to say that number one area of glass here that's being covered by the vinyl where it says Oshkosh Arena, that you anticipate will only stay that way 12 to 18 months max, but that areas number 2, 3, and 4, you hope to keep that way, basically forever so that you can continue to host like 1-year sponsors?
Yeah, let me thank you for that. Let me add some clarity. The 12 to 18 months is a reference to sometimes how long this can take. I urge the committee to keep in mind that we're in a post-COVID situation to where a lot of businesses are going through a lot of financial ups and downs. So that is also weighing heavy on us being able to find an appropriate partner that wants to pay the price tag that we have for the space of naming rights. But when that sign comes down with whatever amount of time that might be, I will not be putting any other vinyl up in that space. That is not our intention. Item number 2, 3, and 4, yes, that is an indefinite. And the reason that is because that belongs to that gate's name. If you've been to the arena and you see the Signorama entrance and you see the Verve entrance, those are sponsors of that particular door. Those are very long-term deals that are put in place with those sponsors, and that's part of that particular deal with them. This gate would be the same thing. So this would become number 2, 3, and 4 would be added inventory that I would have allocated to a gate A sponsor. So when Dr. Pepper is done, and let's say Mountain Dew comes in, or whatever particular sponsor we approve, they would have asset 2, 3, and 4 to have their brand on our glass. But I am not looking to replace Oshkosh Arena with a whole bunch of random sponsors up there to sort of clutter the space. We will not be putting anything up there when that comes down after.
But just for clarification, because I think it's important to distinction to make, if City Hall wanted to pay you to call it City Hall Arena, the Oshkosh Arena sign would come down, and City Hall Arena and vinyl graphics would go up in its place. Or are you saying if you reach a naming rights for the arena, they would be coming back with traditional signage? I just want to make sure we clarify that.
That is correct. We are going to be pushing traditional signage over having them put their brand up on top where Oshkosh Arena would be. This was really meant as just a temporary solution for us to allow for the arena's name to be out front. It's not illuminated as the Menominee Nation Arena letters were illuminated. So we made it a little bit more dominant as to draw the attention that we needed to. So it would be temporary to answer your question.
And once it comes down, you're not planning to put anything else in that space. Is that correct?
That is correct. And we wouldn't even be offering it to the new naming rights partner. Our intent of offering would be the existing asset spaces that are already in place. The Menominee Nation Arena, as you see to the left of the west pitch, the monument that you can't see in the image, those would be the spaces that we would be offering to the naming rights partner under the current, or previous rather, square footage that was previously done in 2017. We'll do our best, obviously, to retain that, but sometimes naming rights and other sponsors have big grandiose ideas, and if it comes to that, they're just going to have to go through the process with us, and going through the same cycle we are right now. But
So-
again, to just directly answer, I'm not going to be offering that space once that Oshkosh Arena comes down.
And I would potentially offer this to Plan Commission, given that information. You may want to consider a additional condition be placed on the approval of property of the project if you move forward with, because under the current structure of how it's written, the Menominee Nation Arena sign comes down, Oshkosh Arena goes up. There's no mechanism or condition right now that would allow them to replace, like in kind, the Menominee Nation Arena. So if they did reach a new naming sponsor 6 months from now, they'd have to come back to this body to put up any signage for naming rights of the arena. If you're comfortable with it, you could potentially condition it that a like size and location sign as the current Menominee Nations Arena sign be permitted once the Oshkosh Arena vinyl graphics is removed, if you're so inclined.
Mark, I think that's a wonderful idea. Let's add that as a condition and see what the
When we
commission
get
is.
to the motion portion of it, if somebody could, if they want, make a motion along that lines, we can help wordsmith it.
Okay. Margie, do you have anything else? No? Anyone else with a question for the applicant or? Let's see, I believe we asked for public comment. Did we not? Is there anybody else still that wants to speak?
If staff could seek one clarification from the applicant, we've talked significantly about the west facade. The north facade, the long-term plans, if you reached on that request, are you seeking that area indefinitely should a new restaurateur or new operator of that venue go in and being able to change that vinyl graphic?
Yes, I am. I'm seeking the current to remain intact in perpetuity for the property. So if that remains the exact specs, whether it's called the 1212 or 5 years from now it's changed to another name, that I would like that space for that continued use.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure we had clarification because a little bit of moving piece to make sure we're all under the same page.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, no other public wishes to speak. The applicant, do you have anything to say at the end here before we close public comment?
No, I just want to say thank you again for considering, and not to, just try to please keep in mind the unique level of space here, and in comparison to some of the other properties around town. I definitely know why you have some of the things in place, especially in the area and under the redevelopment direction that you're going, and I can give full respect to that. But just if you can please just keep a little bit of an open mind with how unique our space actually is and what it is that we're trying to do here. I would greatly appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Looks like Mr. Kulabali may have a question.
I just quickly before the applicant goes, wondering how he feels about Mark's suggestions to reinstate the other signage once that one expires.
About before you approve any additional signage, the Oshkosh Arena one must come down? Is that the question?
Yes.
To be very honest with you, I have no problem with that recommendation.
Yeah, I think it provides some opportunity for you to move forward a little quicker with naming rights if you can fit it within the 166 square feet area of the prior sign without having to come back.
Yeah, I would be okay if planning committee wanted to add that as a point that in order to put up any additional naming rights partner, the Oshkosh Arena has to come down in the west facing display one. I would be fine with that. That doesn't bother me. Again, if we have naming rights, I'm pulling it down anyhow, so I'm okay with it.
Okay. Now, any more questions? Okay, we'll close public comment period and commission. I will entertain a motion to adopt the findings and recommendation as stated in the staff report.
I move to
Somebody,
accept the findings and recommendations as accepted in the staff report.
Second.
Second, Marshall.
okay, all right, commission discussion. Justin,
Thanks. Jason, I appreciate the challenging situation you're in and want to be supportive of the arena. And so, I'll be supporting this. I don't want it to sound like we're not supporting the arena with the concern of signage. I think there's the concern that it turns into a billboard-sized bulletin board with all sorts of external, advertisements all over. And I think you guys have done a great job so far, and I'm hoping that, that doesn't change. And that the focus is still on what's happening inside the arena versus a bulletin board outside. At that said, I think you're in a challenging industry and a challenging time, and as much as I can, I want to be able to support what you're doing. I just hope in the long run that we can, the fewer exterior signs and billboards, the better, I think. But
okay, thank you, Justin. John, you haven't had much of a chance to speak.
That's probably because I'm breaking up, but do we need to make a motion to add the new condition?
Yes, we would need a motion to add a condition 4 if you want to go that route.
Okay, I don't know if it's for chairman to make that motion, so I will leave that to somebody else.
Margie, do you want to make that motion or you have something else to say?
I had my hand up to make that motion, and I also have one question for staff. I would like to move that we add an additional condition that the size and location of the sign be permitted, of the existing sign, the 166 square feet, be permitted when the vinyl sign comes down that's currently in position A on the west side of the building. And do I need to wait for a second or something before I go on, Mark, or not?
Yes, please.
I second Shireman.
Okay, any discussion on Margie's amendment?
If we could
We'll call the roll.
call the roll on the adding the amended motion, please.
All right.
Mr. Mitchell,
Aye.
Mr. Perry, Mr. Perry,
Aye.
Ms. Shireman,
Aye.
Mr. Marshall,
You're muted, sir.
Aye.
Mr. Coulibaly,
Aye.
Miss Davy,
Aye.
Mr. Kiefer,
Aye.
Ms. Prop,
Aye.
Chairperson Hens. Motion carried 9-0.
Okay, Margie, back to you.
My question for staff is, it regards the north side of the building where the pub information is. That was like basically 21 feet square. How much of a percentage of the glass on that side of the building is that? Do we have any idea?
I was trying to look as we were talking here.
You knew I was going to ask that, didn't you?
So looking at the overall north side of the building, I would say it's approximately 50% of the far eastern glass area. Just past that, there's about a 2.5-story small glass section. And then there is other glass on the front corner of the building. So just visually looking at it, I would say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 25, maybe slightly over 25% of the overall glazing on the north elevation.
And where does that leave us in terms of what we would normally be requesting?
So this is where we're in a bit of a unique circumstance with the plan development. Window signs, if they were strictly just typical traditional window signs, can cover 50% of a pane. The nature of these where we're covering full panes and more common area is more similarly being used as a wall sign. A wall sign is 1 linear foot per linear foot of building wall. Staff feels it's appropriate, given the nature and the goal of these signs, to more include them as wall signage. If you would prefer to consider them window signage, we could rewrite that type of base standard to do it because they cover more than 50% of a pane.
Mark, actually, it's 33% based on code per pane.
33% of a pane. So there's some unique, characteristics of this type of sign over what we see with traditional window signage. Did that answer your question, Margie?
I think so.
So if this was just strictly talking window signs, they're probably under 33% or right at it for overall glazing of the north side. When we look at it under the metrics of overall signage and wall signage, they are above given some of the other signage on that elevation, which is why we're suggesting the base standard modification for the 564 overall square feet of signage on the north elevation.
Okay, I'm done.
All right, Mark, did Margie's motion take care of what we wanted to do, that when the Oshkosh Arena vinyl comes down, it will not be replaced?
Yeah, and we'll wordsmith it a bit to make sure I understand the intent is to allow the arena to cover the 166 square feet of the prior Menominee Nations arena signage, subject to the Oshkosh Arena vinyl coming down.
Yeah, okay.
See nods, so I think I got that right.
Okay, I think that's an excellent compromise. It makes me feel better. Because I think the current signage, the Menominee Nation sign, is classy. And shall we just say the Oshkosh Arena is serving its purpose to draw attention to it? But I would hope it doesn't stay there forever. So, Commission, any other discussion or concerns? Don't see anybody. Then let's call the roll.
Mr. Mitchell?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Ms. Shireman?
Aye.
Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Mr. Kulapali?
Aye.
Ms. Davy?
Aye.
Mr. Kiefer?
Aye.
Ms. Prop?
Aye.
Chairperson Hens? Motion carried 9-0.
Is there anything else before adjournment, Mark?
I do not have anything else for you today.
We don't have any notion yet about virtual versus in-person meetings in November, do we?
As of right now, my understanding is we'll probably be virtual for at least the first meeting. I'm waiting to hear back further past that. Obviously, this board at any time has the discretion that it could choose to go back to in-person if they chose. There is no virtual mandate. It is right now at the discretion of the board of fully virtual, fully in-person.
Oh, all right.
If you'd like, I could put it on as a discussion item for the next meeting.
Would anyone like that? Sure, go ahead. Oh, John has his hand up, I think.
Yeah, I'll add it under director's report for the next meeting, and we can discuss that.
Okay. Well, if there is no other business, motion to adjourn is in order.
Motion to adjourn, Mitchell.
Second, Shireman.
Call the roll.
Mr. Mitchell?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Ms. Shireman?
Aye.
Mr. Marshall,
Aye.
Mr. Kulabali,
Aye.
Miss Davy,
I,
Mr. Kiefer,
Aye.
Miss Prop,
Aye.
Chairperson Hens.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone.